All right, welcome to your lesson on inequalities. This is on Wednesday, April 2nd. So in this lesson, we're going to talk about inequalities. And an inequality is just a mathematical sentence that states that two things are not equal to each other. So I just want to go over a couple of key words and vocabulary before we start. Is less than or is fewer than is going to be accompanied by a sign that looks like this. Is greater than, is more than, and exceeds is going to be accompanied by a sign like this. Is less than or equal to, is no more than, and is at most is a less than or equal to sign. Notice how we have a half of an equal sign underneath. We say this as less than or equal to. And then our last but not least is greater than or equal to. Again, when I have an or equal to, I have a line underneath the bottom of my inequality sign. Is no less than, is at least. So these are just some keywords that you can be looking out for as we write some inequalities. So let's practice. It says write an inequality for each sentence. So letter A. It says the DVD cost more than $15. So D represents our DVD, and the cost is greater than $15. Now, the reason that we have our inequality sign, or alligator mouth, as I like to call it, or Pac-Man symbol, the reason that is open towards the D, or the DVD, is because the DVD costs more than $15. And the alligator mouth is always going to be open towards the side that has more, or is bigger, or is greater than. So again, we read this as the DVD is greater than $15, or the DVD costs more than $15. Let's try another one. Let's try B. A dog weighs less than 50 pounds. So again, I'm going to use D to represent my dog. Less than 50 pounds. Okay, so I read that as my dog weighs less than 50 pounds. And again, my inequality sign is facing away from D, so that means that D is smaller than 50. Okay, the inequality sign always faces towards, or is going to eat the bigger thing, the bigger side. Let's try a couple more. Amelia sold more than 40 magazines. So I'm going to use M for my magazines. She sold more than 40, so her magazines that she sold is greater than or more than 40. 1B, Gino sent less than 35 texts yesterday. So I'm going to use my T for texts. He sent less than 35. Okay, so let's try a couple more with wording that's a little bit different to look at. I'll read this out loud. It says a student must have at least 10 hours of instructional assisted driving time to pass the course. Write an inequality to describe the situation. So when I see an inequality, I need to think of less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. All of these qualify as inequalities. So it says a student must have at least 10 hours of instructional time. So at least means they could have 10 hours, they could have 11, they could have 12, 13, and so on. So they have to have at least 10 hours. So anything that is 10 or above will work. So I'm going to use D for my driving time, and they can have greater than or equal to 10 hours. So at least means that they can have 10 hours or more than that to pass the course. So my inequality is my driving time is greater than or equal to 10 hours. One more idea with voting. It says you must be at least 18 years old to vote. Write an inequality to describe the situation. So again, our key word is at least. You can be 18 years old, 19 years old, 20, and so on. But you have to be at least equal to 18 years of age or more than that to vote. So I'm going to use A for my age, and I'm going to say that you have to be greater than, so older than, or equal to the age of 18 years old to vote. So that would be our inequality. Again, remember that my alligator mouth or my Pac-Man sign is always open towards the greater side, or the side that's bigger. So your age must be bigger or equal to 18 years to vote. Okay, now we're going to try a few examples where we are testing an inequality. So for these two examples I pulled up, it says for the given value, state whether the inequality is true or false. So we're just doing a test to see if our inequality that we've been given is true or false. Okay, so let's try letter A first. It says 2 times t plus 8 is greater than 7. And I'm told that my t is equal to -1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in -1 for my t. So 2 times -1 plus 8 is greater than 7. And I'm going to test this by solving it out to see if this is true. So I know that 2 times -1 is -2. -2 plus 8, I'm adding numbers with different signs, so I'll subtract 8 minus 2, which is 6. My bigger number is positive, so my answer would be positive 6 when I add -2 plus 8. So I end up with 6 is greater than 7. This is not true. When my solution is -1, 6 is greater than 7. That's what I get, and that is not true. 6 is not greater than 7. Let's try a couple more. P minus 42 is less than or equal to -2. And remember that I say less than or equal to when I have that line underneath my less than sign. I think of that as half of an equal sign. So 40 minus 42 is less than or equal to -2. So let's check that by plugging in 40 for P. 40 minus 42 is less than or equal to -2. Okay, so 40 minus 42, think of you have $40 and you spend 42. Well, you're $2 in debt, so you are in the red, or you have a -2. So I have -2 is less than or equal to -2. So let's think about this. -2 is not less than -2, but it is equal to -2. So my inequality of -2 is less than or equal to -2 is true. All right, I'd like to try one more with you guys. I want to do one with fractions. So 3b, y minus 1/3 is less than 1. And I'm told to use the value of y equals 4/3, or 4/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in 4/3 for y. So I've got 4/3. Whoops, there we go. Minus 1/3 is less than 1. Okay, so let's solve this. My two denominators are the same, so I don't have to get a common denominator. I can just add or subtract my numerators. I know 4 minus 1 is 3, So I have 3 over 3 is less than 1. Now I know that 3 over 3 is the same as a whole, which is 1. So 1 is less than 1. That's not true. Okay, obviously 1 is not less than 1. They're equal to each other. So my answer would be that when I plug in 4/3 for y, my inequality is not true. So 1 is less than 1 is not true. All right, to wrap this up, I want to show you guys how to graph these on a number line. So please don't take notes for this, just pay attention. I'll tell you what to write down so that you are able to do this successfully in a little bit with your assignment. Okay. Now on your homework tonight, I would recommend that you open this up either in Notability or Kami. At least I believe that's what it's called. I might be wrong, but whatever it is you use for science, in order for you to be able to write on your paper on your screen. That way you guys don't have to write everything from scratch. Okay, so to start out, I want to talk about what kinds of symbols we use to show less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, less than or more than. So whenever I have an equal to, so less than or equal to or more than equal to, I'm going to have a solid dot. Whenever I have less than or more than, I'm going to have an open dot. So let's jump right in. My first inequality is x is less than or equal to -1. So I'm going to start out at -1. I'm going to start off with an open circle and then decide if it is open or closed later. Now I'm told that my unknown number can be less than -1, so I'm going to shade everything that's less than -1 to show that any of those numbers could be my answer. But I'm also told that my x can be less than -1 or equal to -1. And when my answer could include -1, I'm going to just use that as a shaded in dot to show that my answer could be -1 or anything less than that. Okay, let's try example 4a. X is less than 5. I'm going to find 5 on my number line, which of course it's not there. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to put my open dot at 1, and I read this inequality from left to right as x is less than 5, so my answer could be anything less than 5. So I'm going to shade my number line to the left, anything that is less than 5. Now, because my answer does not include 5, okay, my x can be anything less than 5, I have an open circle. And the reason that I have to still start at 5 is because my number could be like something such as 4.999, which is really close to 5, but it's still less than 5. So that could technically be my answer. Okay, so for B, I have x is greater than or equal to -2, so I'm going to find -2. I read my inequality from left to right. My x could be anything that is bigger than -2. So I'm going to shade my number line to the right because anything bigger than -2 is anything to the right of -2. Now, my x could also, or my unknown number could also equal -2 because my inequality is greater than or equal to. So I'm going to shade in my dot. Excuse me. All right, last one. X is greater than 0. So again, I'm going to start at 0. Start with the open circle, then decide if I need to shade it later. I read my inequality from left to right. I say this is x is greater than 0. So anything to the right of 0, I'm going to shade because my number could be anything that's greater than 0. So that is all for your lesson. You will have a very short practice to do today, and I look forward to seeing your work. All right, guys, nice job. Thanks for listening.